Welcome to the first seminar of the Evoke seminars this year. We have Steffen here, who hasn't been handled yet. First time on the demo scene party, and he will show us and tell us something about a totally different perspective on doing Amiga demos. So give him a hand and welcome.
Okay, hi. What I'm going to show you is how to create Amiga demo style graphics with top modern visual effects software. And I call it a kind of reverse engineering approach to creating a demo. And I grew up with an Amiga. First computer when I was 14 or so. And I just gambled. I just played around with the music trackers. I played around with Deluxe Paint. And I guess this was the start of, I'm landed in the visual effects business, mainly because of the Amiga, I think. That brought me into that direction. And does anybody of you, are you familiar with visual effects or 3D programs, compositing programs? Anybody here? No, okay. Can anybody of you write code to create graphics? Okay. Anybody here can program the Amiga to create graphics? Okay. So I have no idea of coding, not one line, but I can use a software to create those shitty pixels. And what it was all about, why I was doing this, 3 years ago I decided I wanted to have a demo reel. Every visual effects artist needs a demo reel where you collect all the best shots from the last years and present them with nice music. And this is a lot of work, and everybody hates it actually. And while I was collecting all these assets, I had no idea what I wanted to do with it, what the demo reel would look like. I just had one idea. I knew how it should end. I wanted to break it somehow, and then it should look like an Amiga was crashing with Guru meditation, and then it should reboot and load up a little bootblock intro where I present my personal contact data or something, yeah? My name and my address, so the people can book me. But this was all what was finished. I never did the demo reel actually, I just did the end of it. And I didn't send it to anybody because you can't expect to get hired if you present them shitty pixels, yeah? So actually it was all for fun and just for me. And I dig it out here for you, and I want to show it to you. By the way, the music is from Dubmood, and he allowed me to use it. So that's the end of a never-existing demo reel. Okay, and I did this all with Nuke. This is a compositing software I work with. Does anybody of you know this? Nuke? Yeah? Okay, cool. 2 or 3 people. I give you a quick overview about compositing in general, the real basics, just 1 minute, and then I show you what you usually do with the software. And after that, I come to the Amiga part. It's easier to understand the Amiga part maybe if you see what we are using the software in general for. Well, compositing. You have layers and put them over each other. You start off with a RGB image here, and what you can do, you can take a part out of it. Here I have a mask, and I can change it, and this gets cut out, and I can put it over a background. And you see if I move one point of the mask, okay, pretty easy. we are actually layering things A over B. We're doing this all. Maybe a little bit detailed here, but should be enough. And you see there's something on it. It's the Evoke logo. It comes from the internet and altered a little bit. And when it's on the wall, it looks like this. And when you have the camera movement, you can place anything on the surface because you just film it back. And if you can see this other camera here, the blue one. The blue one is a projector camera. It projects the texture onto that mesh, and the orange camera films it back. So when you place it in one position, it will always stay there if your track is good. And let's see this in motion. It sticks pretty tight. This is because I have the rough representation of the wall. I need all the bumps in the wall. When I would project this on a flat surface, it will not fit that well. So I decided to generate the mesh for this purpose. And let's say we want some background. I have a photo here. Going to 3D again and film it back with the same camera. When you look through the camera, it looks like this. But as you could see in the plate, there is no possibility to look behind this rock, so I decided to cut out a little piece of it. Where can you see this? This is a mask who cuts out a little of the rock. And when we put this together, first of all, I'll show you the particles first. We wanted some snow, and you have a particle system inside of Nuke, and this is a very simple thing, just one emitter and a little turbulence added, and you can see the cameras moving through 3D particles here. So everything should match. It's not very realistic, the snow, but for this example, it's okay, I think. Yeah, here you see some errors. I left them in with a purpose. Okay, let's take the quick time. This is far too slow. Yeah. As you can see, we have the background behind it. We cut out a little of the rock at this thing here. This mask is not perfect. It's wobbling a little. But this is really quickly done. When you have a 3D track, you can just place elements there and just film them back and layer them over each other. And here we come to the errors. These black patches here, or this one over here, we can look through this hole, and you can see the background. This is why the projector camera was on this side here, and it projects the texture, and it wasn't able to see these surfaces because they are facing away from the projector camera. This is why there's no texture. You could switch the projection cameras all the time when you're moving. This is a lot of movement we have here. When you have just a subtle movement, this will be okay, but when you have this large movement, you had to switch the cameras. Multiple projectors that come in over time. Yeah, and that's a little shot. For example, this basic work with Nuke, bread and butter daily, something like this. And now we come to the demo. Amiga! Yes, you are. Okay, these nodes are necessary to produce this little demo. And I want to talk to you through all the different elements. Starting with By the way, if you have questions, just throw them at me. I hope you will do this. Well, we start again with a RGB image. This has no alpha channel. I didn't explain alpha channel before. Most of you may know. I always need an RGB channel and an alpha channel to define. We come to the color part later, where the color comes from. I'll show you in a minute. The next thing is a color bar with text rolling over it. And this again starts with full shot image. I made it scroll through from bottom to top, and when it's going out at the top, it starts again from the bottom. You'll see why. I had to go to 3D here because I wanted to have a really crazy distortion on the text. As you can see here, it really distorts a lot. I wasn't able to get this with warping tools, so I choose to make a cylinder here, and the cylinder is even round, so this gets even more warp when it's rolling over. You see the camera. Which one is it? What this camera sees is being rendered back to the pixel data, and this again I'm rendering. This is what comes out of it. And we don't have any color bar yet. It comes in from the side. Start off with this. This is just 2 ramps actually in floating point color space. So you have to destroy them. The way I choose is the whole compositing is in 720p, and what I did, I reformatted this thing to a resolution of 69 pixels by 45 pixels here on the bottom. And then I bring it up to 720p again, so that I'm always in my format. And you see, it automatically broke the colors down. And when I invert this, I have a bar. And it needs a color. In the beginning, the color is shifting a little, but just at the beginning, when the whole thing builds up. And then it stays green. And okay, combined, it looks like this. And you can see this font is not longer white anymore. It's fading out at the top, and it's fading out also at the bottom. And this is done with the same. I took this guy again. I graded the alpha channel so that there is a little more contrast. And then I combine it with my text. And when you put it all together, it looks like this, and it's rolling through. And this is why I choose to start the scrolling again. When it's leaving at the top, it starts again from the bottom. Over and over and over. And this guy has an animation. In this case, it's a bouncing animation. I wanted it to look like it's bouncing. That renders really slow, but if we have some, yeah, you know what I mean. It's doing bang, bang. Yeah.
Those curves, is that like you write sine waves or predefined?
Actually, in this case, I had 3 keyframes here. You see them? And you can loop them. Yeah. You do it with a Bezier. Yeah. Oh, actually, it's 4 keyframes, and they are repeated endlessly. Yeah. So this is what we have to now. Yeah, the floor. Oh, really complicated thing. Yeah. This is just, again, a ramp. You know this from before. Floating point values, destroy them, give them a color, and crop them somewhere, and place it underneath. So here's the color section. This generates colors for different things like the contact information and the color bar on the top. And we start off with the color wheel. This is a standard node in Nuke. I just made it really turning all the time. Yeah, you know what I mean. And I made it really big. And I have some bars in the top and on the bottom. Here, wait. What we create in this step is just this line here and this line here in the bottom. Actually, it looks like this. This is after crashing everything. These are the colors that remain. And they're nicely going through the values here. And you can see we have, yeah, how much is it? 6 colors. And now they are inside of these bars. And we also use the color, in this case, for the contact text. This is the same color coming in here, this one. And so it's being colored. You can't see the, yeah. It's not so obvious that is very limited palette here, but it is. Yeah, next thing, the most famous thing, the Amiga ball. I started off with a checkerboard. This is the standard Nuke node. You can set the number of checkers here, or I don't know how it's called. We go into 3D with it again, and we just have one animation. This is just all axes are animating from minus unlimited to plus unlimited. Yeah, very good. And it goes on and on forever. When I was playing around with a script to prepare this talk, I found out that there is a really interesting position you can take with the camera. And this is when I switch over to the camera and it's inside of the Amiga ball. And when it's turning, it looks like this. And for me, it reminded me of a stereographic projection. And this is really interesting. You have to go to this website, dimensions-math.org. There are some students, they explain to you what a stereographic projection is. And basically, for those who don't know, you try to represent a 3D object on a 2D surface or in a 2D world. So you send rays through the north pole of a sphere, and you project every point on the sphere back to a plane. And if you see this from above, it exactly looks like this. I was so stunned. Yeah, if you like more, the interesting thing, these students, they show how 4D mathematical structures will look like when they're projected back into 3D. So you have the 3D something that is going through itself all the time and doing crazy things, and I can't understand it, but it's really nice looking at it. You should check this out, dimensions-math.org. I love them. Yeah, the ball needs another animation. Now I show you the crushing again. This is what the scanline renderer spits out. You see this is rendered without anti-aliasing or anything. And we crush it again. So that looks crappy enough, doesn't it? And finally it gets another bouncing animation here. Boom, boom. And by now this is everything we have. Next thing, I wanted to have some background stars. They were very famous in the old days. And I start off with a pixel image. I did this in Photoshop because yeah, the brushes in Nuke are not that crappy. So yeah, I just painted one frame, some stars, and again we go into 3D, and we have some spheres here. And they're turning at different speeds. So when you look through the camera, you actually have 3 layers of stars, and they have a different color correction to them. The far away stars, they are darker, and the faster moving ones are a little brighter. And we go back to 2D data with it, and it looks like this. Actually, when you're rendering out something from 3D and it's moving in that speed, you would expect motion blur. This is my name. What I want to show you here is the multi-samples. When I want motion blur, I can tune up the multi-samples to a value maybe of 6. And you see what immediately happens. It gets motion blur. But did the Amiga have motion blur? No. So we leave it on 1. Yeah. And this goes under all the things we created before. Next thing and final thing is the software skills. I decided it's a good idea to present what you can use. I don't know. Just outline font. And what I do, I put it on a sphere again. I like spheres, actually. And film it back from the inside with the camera with a really wide angle. Because I wanted to have a lot of distortion when, wait, let's view through the camera. You see the distortion at the side of the frame. This comes from the focal length from the camera, actually, like a fisheye lens. You can see it here. When I go even more down, it gets distorted more and more and more. And again, we go back to 2D. And in this case, the rendering is pretty sharp or pretty, yeah, it looks good. And not that crappy. I decided not to crush this layer because if you can see when my final result looks like this, and there is a monitor filter thing over it, and this font gets destroyed anyway. And when I crush it before, I wasn't able to read it anymore. So as you can see, we have different resolutions. This guy is very pixely, this is very neat, and the ball has a different resolution. I didn't care, it just had to look okay. But we are here right now. Yeah, this rendering is being shaded a little with, again, with a crushed ramp, with this here. So you can see here the different gray tones. Okay, this is all together. Can we play it back? No. Ah. Yeah, stars, ding, da ding, da ding. Okay, but you may remember the whole thing started with a reboot of the Amiga and the Guru Meditation software failure. And the whole reboot sequence is this thing over here. I made a screen grab from my Amiga emulator. You can, it's so cool that you can make these things crash. So I just had a still image, but as you remember, the red square was flashing all the time. So I defined what should flash here, and yeah, just the final. It's always doing on, off, on, off, on, off. Repeats that endlessly. And what was happening when you restarted the Amiga, the screen went through some gray tones, from dark gray to the final white where the disk was displayed. And I just have 3 gray tones here that are shown after another. By the way, this is done with a switch. I just switch inputs down here for all these elements. As you can see here, the highlighted arrows, they move through. So this time you see this arrow, and this time we see the ROM. If we can look at it, yeah. This is also a screen grab. And maybe can anybody explain this to me? Why did the Amiga always do this decrunching lines? I had no idea, but I had to do it because they were there in the earlier times. For those who don't know, I think when the Amiga was unpacking something, or was it unpacking or calculating? I have no idea. It always did these funny lines. And I grabbed them again from an emulator, and I think this is 5 frames. Yeah, this is 5 frames in a loop. And this is okay for my purpose. And yeah, actually these are all elements we need. After putting them together, this looks very clean. So I have to destroy it again with, to make it look like this. This is done by one node. It's called a gizmo. You can, in Nuke, you can write your own gizmos. This is just a collection of standard node nukes. You can make a really large tree, maybe like this part, or this is not large tree, but you can take all these nodes, bake them together in one node, and define some values that can be changed from the outside. So, where is it? My fizzle. This gizmo was written by Julian Van Mill, and he just broke out the controls you need to make it more pixely, to make it more distorted. And this was not my work. I just took it, made the adjustment to look at like this, make it look like this, and that's it. You see the difference before, after. It's so important to destroy it. Otherwise, it would have been halfway. Ah, yeah. This code, the code of that script, fits on a floppy disk. Yes, it's 120 kilobytes, but without the images. And we can quickly look inside of it here. This is what Nuke creates, the script, just text. And you can alter things if you like. Maybe sometimes it's useful to edit something in here. But I can't do it. Yeah, that's it. That's all we need. Do you want to see it again? Yeah. Yay! Yeah.
How did you put the music into there?
I rendered everything out of Nuke. This is. Then I went to an editing program. I used Evoke Media Composer for layering some music, and yeah.
How long does it take to render this in real time?
Um,
How long does it take to render this?
in this case, you can, when I play this through, it goes 7 frames per second. That's okay. Yeah, but the other thing I showed you before with the rock and with the snow, this is hell of slow. Yeah. You can't have enough processing power when you're doing visual effects, and not enough RAM and everything. You always have to wait for the machine. Annie, wrong. What's this? Fasten your seatbelts. Media offline. Okay. Thanks. Maybe some more words about Nuke in general. If you can code Python, you can. This is extremely interesting because you can pimp Nuke in any way you like. In our working environment, there's one guy who knows a little about coding, and it makes your life so much easier, even if you have small elements that you integrate. Maybe it's automatically mounting network things when you go from Mac to PC, opening a script on Mac, won't find the images you find on the PC with a network drive, you know. maybe if camera tracking fails, we have one button so that the whole shot gets transferred into another program where we can track the shot and bring it back with another button. That's little examples that really speed up your daily life. And when you take Nuke out of the box, it's cool. But when you are able to pimp it a little, it gets more and more features, and it gets better. So,
How expensive is it?
Nuke, there's two versions. This is Nuke X. The Nuke X has some more features, and about 3,000 is the, yeah, and you have to pay a yearly maintenance fee to get all the latest versions and stuff. But that's okay. If you have a visual effects company, that's fine. Yeah. Any more questions? No? Okay. So you're free to go. Thank you for being here that early. Have you slept during the night? Okay. Was a long night. Okay, cool. Well, thanks for being here, and I hope you will be here again at 4 o'clock when Dr. Kirschner is giving the next seminar. Okay. Well, bye-bye.